Why are the Israelites called the chosen people of God? And what about the rest of us? Well, let's start with why God was looking for a chosen people in the first place. And naturally, we start in Genesis, when God created us. It says he created male and female in his image. And therefore, we were supposed to be the representatives of God. And when you represent someone, when you're in their image, you're supposed to act like them. This is why in the Garden of Eden, God was so close to Adam and Eve, because he wanted them to know how to act, how to represent him well. But what we know is as soon as we try to lead on our own without our reliance on God, each generation after that became less and less likely to represent God well. God's nature is to create life, but man started taking life. God's nature is to bless people and allow them to be prosperous, but man created economic systems, slavery systems, polygamy systems, systems that deny us from being human beings, right? They objectify us, they make us into animals. So God sees all of this and he decides, I need a group of people that are going to actively seek to represent me on this land. And by doing so, by being representatives, they can bring my people back to me. Now, this is where the Israelites come in, because God uses Abraham. He obeyed God and he listened to God. And therefore, God blessed Abraham and he said, I'll make you a father of nations, and through your family, the earth will be blessed. So who comes from Abraham's family? Well, Abraham and Sarah have Isaac, and Isaac and Rebekah have Jacob. Now, Jacob honestly started off a bit rocky. He wasn't the best youth. But through his own kind of wrestling and struggling with man and with God, God renames him when he transforms his character to Israel. Israel meaning he who struggles, El being Elohim with God, Israel. So the Israelites come from the man called Israel. And Israel has 12 sons, and they are known as the 12 tribes of Israel. So we know that God is looking for a chosen people. We know that God identifies the Israelites and says, I'm going to bless the nations through you. And then some generations after Israel himself, we have Moses. And Moses leads the Israelites, who are now multiplied and become the tribes of Israel, out of Egypt, out of slavery, into the promised land. But before they get to the promised land, God wants to do a work within them. So God gives them 10 commandments. He walks with them quite faithfully through the wilderness, and he says, if you obey my commandments, I will make you my treasured possession. I will make you a holy nation, a royal priesthood that will bless every other nation. And that's why God gave them the 10 commandments, because he said, if you are going to represent me, if you're going to be a royal priesthood, a holy nation, the way you act needs to be different from how the Canaanites, the Ammonites, the Jebusites, all of these other communities on the earth act. You have to be holier than they are. But not even a few days go by and they already start failing at the commandments. Don't judge them, because we would fail too. God is really, really patient with them. And we see generation after generation after generation of these royal priesthoods, these Israelites trying to live up to the commandments but failing. Example of one of these people is King David. Now, David was called a man after God's own heart. David loved God. He pursued God daily. He didn't make any decisions without asking God, and he upheld the commandments for the most part until he didn't. So David, he saw a woman at a well, Bathsheba, and Bathsheba was a married woman. And David slept with her, and Bathsheba became pregnant, breaking one of the commandments, right? The commandment of do not commit adultery. But David didn't stop there. You see, to try and cover the fact that he had slept with another woman's wife, that he had committed adultery, he planned to kill the husband of Bathsheba. The husband of Bathsheba was actually a soldier in his army, and David put him on the front lines so that he would die and his sin would be covered up. That's breaking another commandment. Thou shalt not murder. So one of the best examples of the Israelites, even he couldn't fulfill this. And this happens again and again and again until one of the prophets, Jeremiah, says that God is saying that he will do a new thing. God says, I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel, where I will forget their sins and remember them no more. I will forgive you forever, that we may not be separated. And now comes the second blessing through the Israelites. You see, one of the tribes of Israel was the tribe of Judah. And who is the Lion of Judah? Well, that's Jesus Christ. If you look at Jesus' genealogy in Matthew and in Luke, it traces back to the line of Judah. And this is why It says Jesus has come to fulfill the law. Everything that God had established in the old covenant, Jesus upheld. He upheld every single commandment. He didn't break a single one of them. Even when he was about to be killed, but not my will, but your will be done. Jesus was the most obedient. And he ultimately fulfills God's original plan that the Israelites will be a blessing to all the nations, because through Jesus, every single person on this earth can be reunited with God. And what's interesting is after Jesus dies, we're actually, all who believe in him are now called to be that royal priesthood, to be God's representatives on this earth. This is why Jesus calls us to be salt and to be light on this earth, so that we may also be a blessing to others by bringing them back in relationship with God. So that's why the Israelites were originally a chosen people. And that's why when you accept Christ, you come into that family of being a chosen people.